Hi guys, it's Matt with Service Business from Home, Haloscapes LLC, www.haloscapes.com. Today I want to talk about why scaling your business isn't always the right choice. Um, you know, my channel is focused on the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the guy who starts the business out of his garage and grows it. And, you know, there's usually a progression there where a guy will have some success. He'll start making six figures and he will want to grow that to a seven-figure business and add some crews. And I am here to say that I think that's not always the right approach. There are guys that are running seven-figure businesses that have told me personally that I'm making more money than them. And I'm not going to say names or anything like that. And it's at the end of the day, not always about exactly how much money you make. It's also about lifestyle, it's about stress management, it's about getting, what you want, it's about pride, and all those things do factor in. But I think with scaling a business from six to seven figures, people assume that the guy running a seven-figure business is making more than the guy running a, let's say, $300,000 or $400,000 business, and it's not always true. In fact, I'd say the majority of times, the guy running a 1 million or $1.1 million business probably isn't making as much money as a guy who's bringing in 300 to 400,000, who's keeping it lean and mean. And sorry, I don't mean to use that expression. That's somebody else's. That's Aaron from Lean and Mean Academy. So I don't mean to steal that from him. I do think it's a very good way of saying it though, and it's pretty catchy. But I don't mean to take his way of saying that. So what I'm saying is maximize your profit and your revenue per person and per man hour, and pretty much minimize your overhead. Now, people are going to say, yeah, Matt, I mean, duh, that's kind of the whole point of any business. You want to minimize your expenses and maximize your profits. Well, what's the best way to do that? Once we reach a certain level and we want to expand, I'd say the majority of the time we are doing that not because we want everybody in town to think what a big badass landscape company we are. We're doing it because we want to make more money. And having three and four and five big dump trucks with our name on the side out there with multiple crews and 10, 15 employees, that and a shop, a $2,000-3,000 a month shop where you can store materials and all that's great for the ego. But if I make more money out of my garage than I would doing it that way, why would I want to do it that way? Let's just pretend here with numbers. If I can make between 150 and $200,000 a year on my income tax, not in revenue, but what I actually make, if I can do that running it out of my garage with one or maybe two employees, why would I want to make that much money or possibly less, incur a bunch of debt, add exponentially more stress just to say that I have a big company? I mean, to me, that logically makes no sense. A lot of times I think ego gets involved here, and guys just want to be looked at where I'm looked at as a little guy who's running it out of his garage, and another guy who's got a big shop and a bunch of trucks gets looked at like he's a big, big time businessman, but people don't know the truth. They don't realize that that guy's most likely has a lot hanging over his head and a lot of stress. And I see all the time guys racing to the bank to deposit checks so they can make payroll, guys that are in near bankruptcy, guys with, I saw one online this week, and I won't say the guy's channel, but he wears a yellow shirt, and he's a big one in the lawn care, where this guy, he's one of, I don't know if it's his franchisee or he's just doing an expose, but the guy has $80,000 in outstanding invoices, and it's like, that is because people fall in love with their gross revenue number rather than focusing on their net profit or what's going in their pockets. I say net profit, but as an owner, I pay myself wages too, which aren't technically counted as net profit. If I give myself a distribution, that's not technically counted as a net profit. So, all that being said, you can call it what you want, but at the end of the day, it's about how much money goes in my pocket. And in my personal opinion, hey, it's great when a business blows up. It's great when a guy starts doing more and everything. But if I haven't maximized what I can do with my current business model, it's not, in my opinion, it's not time to expand. It's not until I've cut out all the bad clients at the bottom and maximized everyone at the top, and I've got my one crew maximized, whether it's a 2 or a 3-man crew, everybody's working 2,000 hours a year or more. So right there I can do 6,000 hours. And when you're talking about, a landscape season, that here I try to work 44 to 46 weeks. I end up getting about 6 weeks plus one in the summer. So let's just call it a 44-week season. To work 6,000 hours with 3 guys in a 44-week season is getting after it pretty good. But until I've maximized that and pushed that to the limits and cut all the fat out of my business, then in my opinion, I'm not ready to expand. Now, there are some times where you just get too big for the space you're in, equipment wise and stuff. And in that case, I think you have to look and go in some other directions. But, there's ways of not doing it, not outgrowing your space. If you're trying to get too big for your space, then that's going to happen. If you're trying to manage it in a way where you can stay within the space and offer services that don't require huge, heavy machinery, then you're probably going to be able to work in a smaller space. I mean, that's pretty simple. But the other thing is the administrative side of things. For example, right now I'm off for the winter unless it snows, and or I've got some pop-up jobs. But so I'm trying to take care of a lot of things. I was looking into getting an additional space. Basically a shop, but more like a storage unit. And so I looked into a commercial unit, and once I got into the lease and started looking at all this stuff, it was way more than I needed right now, and it didn't make sense anymore. They wanted some additional insurance that was going to cost me an extra, 50 or $100 a month. The lease specifically said that I was going to use the space for storage, even though I made it very clear I was going to be using it to run a business out of. The unit that I was in isn't an actual address on the United States Postal Service website. Units A through C are on the website, but I was going to be in Unit G, which is technically like a storage unit and did not have its own address. So guess what? I can't do Google Business Profile and list my business at that address. And a lot of stuff. So as you grow, you're going to deal with stuff like that, and it's a lot to take on. Another thing I dealt with this morning is for my applicator's license, I listed my address as my business address for the business license, and the inspector left something on my door that she wants to meet and do an inspection, and I am, having to go over that stuff with her here in a week or so when she circles back with me. And again, that's a lot to deal with. Now, as you grow, those things just become exponential, and that isn't really what I think a lot of us as solopreneurs and guys who maybe got into a trade, who have started our own business, those are the kind of things that I want to absolutely minimize, that I don't enjoy dealing with, that really are not the fun part of the job. And so that's why for me, scaling to try to be this big company, isn't really what I'm looking to do. I would like to get the very most out of what I can maximize, and I haven't maximized what I can do yet. Now, in the spring, March, April, May, June, I'm pretty much maxed out for those 4 months. But the other 8 months of the year, I've got a ton of, open space that I was finishing days in 6 to 7 hours, in October and November and into December. We weren't even really working 8 hours. So, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we work hard and we're good at our jobs, and things that used to take me an 8 hour day now take me a 6 hour day. And that's great. But there's more room for me to maximize what my productivity. So when we expand, we take on a lot of overhead. We take on a lot of extra expenses. Something else that hasn't really been talked about a lot, but the quality of work goes way down. And I've seen this happen with other companies. In my own company, I haven't been able to get there yet, but I know the quality of my work has been, what I consider to be high quality, because I'm on every job site and I'm supervising. But I watch what happens when there's not an owner on site anymore. You might get lucky out of 3 or 4 crews. You might have one really good foreman, one average to slightly above average, and then a couple guys that really are just there to fill a driver's seat. And that's what I see at a lot of companies. And, you know, the whole point of this video is to say growth and expansion isn't always how you do it. Now, am I going to be able to sell my business for $20 million in 5 years and do all these things that I see these guys online who have scaled and, go and sell their business for a ton of money and, don't have to work the rest of their life? No, that's not how you do it with this model. With my model, what I'm going to do is hopefully make a nice income and enough that I can put a very nice sized chunk away in an IRA and a, whatever, whatever other type of retirement accounts or investments, and in 10, 15 years be able to retire then. And that's my model. And I'm not talking about retiring with 20 million bucks, but with enough to live comfortably and, maybe get a boat or something like that. and maybe, even nice cars and stuff. But, you know, a lot of guys, I feel like, that are working 9 to 5s, that's all they really want. And if I could get you there quicker and, or get myself there quicker by doing it this way, I call it a win. I think guys get to a point where they're doing pretty well and then it's not good enough anymore. Whereas if you'd asked them 5 years ago, if in 5 years I told you you were going to be making 150 grand a year and have 3 trucks and all these expensive things, and no debt, would you be happy? 5 years ago, every one of those guys say, yeah, that sounds perfect. But 5 years later, you ask them the same thing, they say, no, I want more. So there you go. It's the video for today. It's why bigger isn't always better. And I really feel like with no debt and not constant flow of headaches and still making a solid 6-figure income, that, that's better for me than $1 million business where I've got 10 times the headaches, 10 times the stress, and making the same or maybe a little bit more and have a ton of debt hanging over my head. So it's Matt with Service Business from Home and Haloscapes LLC, and I will see you next time.